I am
Okay.
doing lovely. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Working on some campaign stuff. So,
Fantastic.
all right. There is no moderator in this, and rather than doing the whole back and forth yelling and shouting and stuff like that, I'd rather not.
I don't do
Rather
that.
not.
So we can talk like two adults. You
Let's
speak
talk
your
like two.
piece, I speak my
Okay.
my piece. So
All
we
right.
you pick the topic of how is Trump good for America and the Republican Party, if I
Yes.
remember correct.
I'm going to allow you to go ahead and make your very first statement, and I will sit patiently and quietly, and I will listen.
Okay. So I'll make this short and sweet for the first part because the first thing you asked in that video, he's not, and two, he is. He is good for the Republican Party because more black people have, by the tune of 81 black people, are running for congressional seats, which is good for the
Mm-hmm.
Republican Party. And he
Okay.
gave the power back to the people. But he's
Okay.
also bad for the Republican Party for the simple fact that he's not an establishment man. So he wouldn't be good for the Democrats or the Republican Party because he doesn't align with either, really.
Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and tell you, since I'm gonna cut it apart. Let me tell you how Donald Trump is bad for the Republican Party. Even up until George W. Bush, the Republican Party was not as extreme as they have become. The problem with extremes, and people say it all the time about the left, is when you have a right extreme, you do not get anything done. You live to antagonize. And unfortunately, that is what Donald Trump has brought to the Republican Party. Now, I am not in any way, shape, form, or fashion saying that I have ever been a fan of the Republican Party. I have not. However, there have been Republicans that I have respected. I've respected Nancy Castlebaum. I respect John Danforth, who is from the great state of Missouri. I respected Bob Dole. I respect John McCain. There are individual Republicans like Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice that I absolutely respect. Unfortunately, they would be considered moderates, if not Rockefeller Republicans today. And why? Because the extremes of the Republican Party have been given a voice and reasoning within the Republican Party thanks to Donald Trump. That is not how you govern in any sense of the word. So, in that regard, this is exactly why having an extremist, populist like Donald Trump is very bad for the established Republican Party. So, your turn. So you can go answer the
Okay,
second half of the question.
I would like to reply to that before I answer the second half of the question.
Go right ahead.
So you said he's created a gateway for extremists,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's not good because he has a populist mentality. So, in what way? My question in rebut to that, which I'll ask and then continue with the statement, is
Okay.
if he gave way to it, in what way did he give way to extremism, for one? And then my statement following up to that is, let's see, would we not look back onto the other side and say that they were more complicit to extremism than what Donald Trump created, in the fact that the organizations that were backed by the Democratic Party caused more havoc and more detriment to our country financially and physically than any Republican or MAGA Republican, as Joe Biden likes to put it, ever did?
Okay. I will answer that in a two-parter. Number one, the problem with American politics today has always been capitulation. It has been, and this is a true and factual statement. There has been a rightward shift within the political system, within the body politic, towards more conservative ideas. Now, this is not to say that America has all of a sudden become very conservative, because at best, and I've seen proof of this, at best, 30% of Americans think in a conservative way. However, we have always had issues within America. We have had racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, anti-Semitism. These things have always existed. But when you have a person who is unmoored by the idea of decorum, of political, not even, I won't even say political niceness. I'll say something to the effect of political respect, not the Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan having a drink sort of respect. That was friendship. They can battle on the Senate floor. They can battle on the congressional floor. Afterwards, they can go out and have drinks. Even something as civility has been lost when Donald Trump was elected president. And the reason I can say that is this: his very first opening, the very first thing he said when he announced that he was running for president was to demonize Mexican Americans, to demonize them. And he ramped that up daily. He ramped that up with every rally. Now, under normal circumstances, that would not be a problem, because we have had people throughout politics to do just that. The John Birch Society was famous for that. They were famous for it. The KKK has been a dual agent. When Democrats were racist and openly racist, the KKK was there. When Republicans started to get more racist, the KKK was there. We could have disagreements about abortion. We could have disagreements about gay marriage. However, when you put a man in the White House who gives voice to the most extreme ideas, you cannot govern with that person. That's the first part. The second part is how he is bad as far as the capitulation part is at the worst. The extremes of the left-wing Democratic Party is socialism. The extremes of right-wing politics is January 6th. To me, it kind of doesn't even balance out, because, oh my goodness, we might have a system that started in Soviet whatever that might make everything fair. That's a left-wing ideology. You can call it socialism, communism, whatever. But on the other side, we've seen what that rightward turn turns into. January 6th. And this was done not for better pay, not for better healthcare, not for free college, not for anything other than the continued presidency of one man, Donald Trump. That's why I say that. But continue. Go ahead.
Okay. So you said a lot. So let's unpack this just a little bit. One of the first things that you mentioned was that he, when he first got in office, that he demonized the Mexican, I say Hispanic, but the Mexican population of people.
Yes.
I'll ask a quick question and ask for a quick reply to this so I can continue with my point. But when did he ever demonize the Hispanic community?
When did he demonize them?
Yes.
Do you remember Judge Curiel?
It enlightened me slightly.
Judge Curiel was the judge that was presiding over Donald Trump's $25 million defense for Trump University. Donald Trump went on CNN, and said that Judge Mercurial could not be unbiased because he was Mexican. And he also said, because I believe he was talking to Chris Cuomo, if I'm not mistaken. He said, Chris, I'm building a wall in Mexico. I'm building a wall in Mexico. Basically insisting or insinuating that Judge Curiel could not be fair and impartial simply because of his Mexican heritage. He did the exact same thing when Khizr Khan and his wife, who lost their son, Captain Khan, he did the exact same covert thing to them. Well, the wife couldn't talk. Maybe she wasn't allowed to talk. Again, hinting on these ideas that we have about Muslims. That's where this comes from. There have been issues that Trump has said while he's been in the White House. The shithole country thing. That's another one. The idea that we're the caravan, during the midterm elections, the caravan was the most dangerous thing coming to America, and our borders are porous. He has always demonized the Hispanic and Latin community. Birtherism. He was a what is it? I won't even say founder. I'm not going to give him that one. But he was a big proponent of the birtherism law, a lie about Barack Obama. But like you said, I'm literally just talking about what he has done towards our Mexican brothers and sisters and the Hispanic community as a whole. The whole idea that they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some I think are good people. Like, come on. You have to admit, that's really, if that's not on the border of xenophobia, it's driving up to it, is it not?
I have to disagree.
Okay,
so here's why.
Okay.
While he was president, the Trump University thing was not happening. He was president-elect, so he hadn't been sworn in yet, correct?
No, this was while he was still running. The Trump University, he
agreed to pay that money at around November 18th, 2016, and they had already considered him president-elect. Whatever, it's irrelevant. So with that being said, a man that is speaking on specific things after already saying, as you said, so many divisive things about Hispanic people, wouldn't you be a little worried that you have a Hispanic individual presiding your hearing if they are they share a very strong bond with their ethnicity? Wouldn't you be a little worried?
Here's the thing, and this is why I find what he said to be so heinous. The law is supposed to be unbiased and blind, correct?
Correct.
So you have conservative judges, you have liberal judges, you have black judges, you have white judges, you have gay judges, there hopefully is probably a trans judge, I am not sure. But the law itself is blind and unbiased, correct?
Supposed to be.
So why would he make that an issue? Now we understand, both you and I are black. I do not know what your life experience is, but I know what mine is. I understand that in America, justice might be blind for some, but it's very well cited for others. But to say that Judge Curiel in a class action lawsuit, we're not even talking about a criminal thing. We're talking about people who were Trump University graduates are suing to get their money back. Why would you worry about the bias of a Mexican American judge in a class action lawsuit? Now, I could understand if these people were suing him for murder or they were suing him because he actually did something, then yes, I would understand that. But we're talking about a class action lawsuit. Why would the nationality of your judge matter? That is why I find that is what bothered me so much about that, because he was making it such a big deal to the point where he was like, hey, he's Mexican. I don't know where his loyalty lies. The man is from America. From America.
Okay.
And not to mention that somebody even in the comment, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but somebody even in the comments even said that his treatment when he went down to Puerto Rico. I mean, think about that. There is far too many breadcrumbs. One example I could fight. You and I could argue about, okay, that's one example. It doesn't show a pattern. But when you have more than one different thing being said over and over, comments being made over and over, does that not sound or seem like a pattern of, if not full-on, outright racist and xenophobic ideologies? Is it not showing his true mindset instead? I mean, let me know. Answer me. Let me know.
So the judge you're speaking about, I vaguely remember the situation. Mm-hmm. This judge you were speaking about is a first generation Hispanic American. He wasn't far from the other side. Like
Okay.
fifth, sixth generation, yeah, sure.
Yes.
So he was also presiding over the environmental issues about the wall too. So the fact that you said that justice is supposed to be blind, but we don't, but it's not because people have biases. There's liberal judges, there's conservative judges, all that good stuff. That shows that it's not unbiased. It shows that it's also not blind because people are going to lean a certain way when they feel a certain way. And Trump, as divisive as he might be sometimes, is not a racist, nor is he a xenophobe. And you brought up the one example of where he called, Mexicans rapists and all that other stuff. But if you were to listen to that whole speech, he was talking about Mexico sending specific people over here. He was not talking about all Mexican people or Hispanic people that came across the border. I have the clip if you want to hear. It's 1 minute and 32 seconds. But he actually said when he was on the border, because he was in a border town, he was talking to predominantly Hispanic people, and he says Mexico's not sending their best and brightest. He's not sending you. He's not sending you. Talking to the people that were there, that were citizens of the United States that came legally. So that's not calling a spade is not divisive in the sense that it's dividing or racist. It is what it is. So if someone's a thief and I call them a thief, that does not make that person make me a bad person for calling that person a thief. If that's what you are, that's what you are. If that's what's coming over here in droves, that's what's coming over here. Because if you look at the border crisis that we were having while he was president and still going on now, these children that were coming over the border, getting detained, were found with 11 to 14 different semen inside of them. So these children were coming over with grapists. They were not coming over here with mommy and daddy.
Hold on. That one is going, I'm going to have to research that one because that don't even sound correct. If they're being raped in process. I don't think they're bringing them. But let me turn it to this then. The fact that he called for an outright ban on Muslims coming into America.
Do you know why?
And I know exactly why.
I know why.
Why? Enlighten me.
There were terroristic events happening on our homeland. The state of Minnesota, women and men were being beaten in the streets of these states by people that came from Somalia that were Muslim by either birthright or Muslim by faith. They were beating people. There's even one case, which will be very hard to find, but I have the screenshot of the newspaper clipping where one Muslim individual, well, actually it was two of them, but one did it, beheaded a lady because she had a bikini on. They beheaded her. So he was banning, hold on. He was banning them for terroristic acts on our homeland. There's nothing wrong with that to protect your borders. Just like you lock your door at night, not because you're afraid, but you don't want something to happen to you or whomever stays with you. You're protecting yourself. That's what he was doing in the event that something worse happened.
Let me counterpoint that because I disagree. And I will tell you exactly why I disagree. To demonize an entire religion for examples like beheadings and things of that nature. How many serial killers have cut off people's heads? Several. Wait, hold on. Hear me out. It is only the faith of Islam that makes someone want to ban people from certain countries and bring up the example like you were talking about. Because Christians have beaten people. Muslims have beaten people. Buddhists, I don't know if a Buddhist has ever done it because Buddhist is a very peaceful religion. However, we have had the same types of killings that we attribute to Islam have happened in America without there even being a religion involved. I was literally listening to a video where a guy wanted his parents' money. He was like literally the smartest dumb criminal that I've ever seen. Is on a YouTube channel called Dreading. He wanted his parents' money. They cut him off. So he decided to come up with a plan to get rid of them. He cut his mother's head off. He cut his father's head off. He boiled their heads and things of that nature. That man I do not know what his faith is, but he is as horrific as some Somali who would be doing the exact same thing. Crime is crime. Crime is always going to be crime. However, when Donald Trump called for a ban on Muslims, he called for it. As a candidate, he called for it. Then as a president, he put it into place. But it wasn't the Muslim countries that he put on the list that was so intriguing. It's the ones that he left off. And I will give you an example. Saudi Arabia was not on that list. 15 of the 19 hijackers from 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. He left Saudi Arabia off the list. He also happens to want to have dealings with the Saudi government. He left Sri Lanka. I think he left Sri Lanka off of there. If I'm not mistaken, Sri Lanka is a majority Muslim country. He picked places like Somalia. He picked places like Yemen. And wherever Donald Trump did not have business or did not have any dog in the fight, that's the places he banned. Now, if you're going to ban all Muslims from coming in the country, using the example you used with Somalia, why would you not ban one of the largest Muslim countries, predominantly Muslim countries on earth? The reason he did, Pakistan, that's right. The reason he didn't is because he had business dealings with them. So for me, it seemed a little bit not only disingenuous, but it seemed extremely xenophobic. You're xenophobic. You want to ban Muslims, but you don't want to touch the one country you have money in. But continue. Go ahead.
Okay, so the U.S., I don't know if you know, but Saudi Arabia, the U.S. Saudi Arabia is one of Saudi Arabia's largest trading countries in the world. So we do more trade dealings as a country, far exceeding past President Trump's presidency, all the way back. As long as there's been a relations there, we've been trading with them. So that's yes. Banning them would have been detrimental to our country. So, okay. But the thing is, you bring up some false equivalencies by speaking about serial killers as opposed to people that were committing atrocities from another country that only got some citizenship due to the Refugee Act. So that's a false equivalency. He's banning countries that he knew was an issue. And I could throw out the fact how Biden banned a whole continent. He banned all of Africa from coming here. So if we want to talk about xenophobia, that's the greatest form of xenophobia. If you ban a whole continent with 59 countries, 56 countries in it. So, but that we're talking about Trump. Him doing what he did strategically was to help our country, just like when COVID hit. So we'll move on to COVID because people always like to talk about how he mishandled COVID. He was the first country to act out of any country in the world when COVID was first a thing. When Nancy Pelosi was down there jigging and jiving and joking with the Asian community down in Chinatown, saying there's nothing wrong, come on down, and tearing up the State of the Union address when Trump gave a call to the governors that, hey, we need to do something about this. He shut down our country, which really, in my opinion, I don't think he should, but he did. He banned travel from China and other countries because that's where it was known at the time that these things came from. But they looked at him and said, oh, you're a xenophobe. You hate against these people. And this is why you're banning travel and stuff like that. And doing all of that stuff saved us heartache. Yes, we lost, according to the CDC, which numbers were 75% inflated, 400,000 plus people, but it would have been in the upper 50, 60 millions had he not acted sooner if the disease is as voracious as people say. So him acting out of protecting the country is not xenophobic. Banning countries that have known issues and problems with us is not homophobic. Banning countries from traveling here that could bring a potential disease here is not xenophobic. He's trying to protect our country. So I don't understand how we can look at this man and say, you're doing this out of racism when we know clearly he's not a racist. 38 times on video, he denounced racism and any involvement with the KKK and the Ku Klux, the skinheads and all of that stuff. 47 times through documentation that he denounced it. How many times does he have to say, no, I'm not a racist, for people to believe him and then look at his actions to follow?
Okay. So I'll get to the COVID stuff in a minute. And yes, I would like to see proof that Joe Biden banned Africa, but I'm gonna go off on faith on that one. Not that I believe it or don't believe it. I just want to see more proof, and I have to do it myself. But let's talk about this idea of Donald Trump's racism. Now, I have been on record as saying that I have not liked that man since 1989. I was the first person to say I wouldn't have voted for that man, and I've already said exactly why, because of the Central Park Exonerated 5. And the fact that Donald Trump took out full-page ads in all the New York newspapers asking for the death penalty for these young men. But if you go further back, Donald Trump and his father, Fred Trump, were sued for discrimination by the Nixon administration. They were discriminatorily not renting to black people. That is on record. Donald Trump has stood in front of, if I'm not mistaken, it's the New York State Senate, where he made the comment because Native American casinos were doing bigger business than Taj Mahal. He made the statement that these people don't, quote, look like Indians to me. So as a citizen, I believe Donald Trump was racist since 1989. Not going to try to lie about it. Then he becomes president. And again, this is what I mean by allowing the vitriol and what have you to seep into your political party. This is what I like to call the deal with the devil that the Republican Party made. You have Charlottesville. That Charlottesville was Trump's. It was almost as if Trump didn't care if anybody knew, and I will tell you why. As the president of the United States, your words have weight. If they elected Lumberjack, if they elected you president tomorrow, you can no longer say just whatever you want with the seal of the presidency of the United States in front of you. Donald Trump, even though he did all this denouncing, it was the initial. And in the initial, he said, his words, not mine, there were very fine people on both sides. Now,
do you want me to play that whole clip? I have it pulled up.
Believe me, I've heard it enough. I've even actually went and researched it, because a lot of people keep saying, oh, well, you didn't hear the whole. I did. I listened to the press conference. I went to CBS. I went to online. I even went so far as to go to Fox News's YouTube channel to hear the whole thing myself, to make sure I wasn't just, I'm just going off the things. The very fine people on both sides part, that is the initial. Because you got to remember, on one side of this were men and women who were trying to save Robert E. Lee's statue in Charlottesville, Virginia, by walking around with tiki torches saying, Jews will not replace us, you will not replace us, blood and soil. A whole lot of Nazi iconography. And on the other hand, you had people who were protesting against these people. Heather Heyer died because a person at that rally ran her over. And that person who ran her over was there to protest the getting rid of Robert E. Lee's statue. So how can you possibly say that there are very, very fine people on both sides without clarifying on this side was some horrible people? And the reason I say that this shows his racism is because, if you remember, during the debate, the worst debate in human history, Donald Trump was asked by Chris Wallace of Fox News to denounce white supremacy and racism. And his answer was, because they were like, give me a name, give me a name. That was his thing. Give me a name, give me a name. Okay. They gave him Proud Boys. And rather than him saying with words, as the president of the United States, I completely denounce white supremacy and racism, he said to the Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. That was not a dog whistle. That was a megaphone. Now, I've already said, I believe the man to be 150% racist. You do not. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot argue with the fact that on the biggest stages, with the pulpit of the presidency of the United States behind him, Donald Trump has not denounced very much. He'll denounce it at a rally. Yeah. And if the news organizations or I just so happen to be driving past, I'm going to go to a Donald Trump rally. I can hear him denouncing these things. But when he's standing in front of the American media, the world media, people are listening. Here's a situation that it resulted in the death of a woman. He says, very fine people on both sides. One of those sides consisting of the people who literally were just out here using Nazi iconography and ran over a woman and killed her. So if it's not racism, if I'm to believe what you say, that Donald Trump is absolutely not racist, he's damn sure wearing a racist's uniform. He is out here in some racist shoes and socks. If he ain't racist, that's what he's doing.
Okay, so 38 times he denounced it, and in that that instance where you're talking about, I'm not going to play it, but I have the transcript from PolitiFact, which is a left-leaning outlet, and just a section. He says, the reporter asked, "Was it terrorism in your opinion? What happened?" He says, "As I said, remember Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms the egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America." And then it went on from there. Now, here's the thing. And then it was them talking, but I'll stop right there. He denounced when he was talking to saying what he said. He was talking about the people protesting. He was not talking about the KKK, which he did denounce, because even with Chris Wallace, he denounced that. I have that clip pulled up also. He denounced racism. And if Trump is a racist, and I need you to refute this if you can. If Trump is a racist, he would be the worst racist on the planet, being that he befriended many black individuals, not because he wanted something from them, but simply to be friends. Herschel Walker, for example, Mike Tyson, Rosa Parks. Didn't he fund twice Jesse Jackson's campaign? Him and Don King were friends. They hung out. These people went to his clubs. They danced with him. They sat with him. They drank with him. They ate with him. They did all of these things with Donald Trump. If I'm a racist, I'm not doing any of that crap with people I don't like. I'm going to stay away from them because I hate them if I have hatred in my heart. You look at the city of Arkansas. There's a city in Arkansas that's considered the most racist city in the United States. They do not like black people. They have 3 black people in that entire city. And those people have to be protected because it is the most racist city in the United States. So if Trump were to display those same habits as a true racist, like everybody likes to paint him to be, he would not associate in any way, shape, or form with black people. He wouldn't put people like Dr. Ben Carson over HUD if he did not like black people. He would not give black people interviews if he did not like black people. He would not have dated a black woman if he did not like black people. Those are contradictory to the statement of him being a racist. And that's the issue I have. The man denounces racism. People say he's still a racist. He shows you he's not a racist. People still says he's a racist. It's short of him getting a surgery to become black, y'all would still call him a racist. And he can't change his skin color, just like neither you nor I can change our skin color. And to call someone something as divisive as a racist and to deface their character means that you are backpedaling because you don't like what that person is doing. I'm going to round up here so you can speak here.
Okay.
But how many times has Joe Biden, because I have to give some comparison, even though we're talking about Trump, how has Joe Biden really just left a bad taste in black people's mouth? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. The first time I learned about roaches was when kids in a pool were rubbing on my legs. So he's comparing blacks to roaches. How many times did he say the N-hard-E-R on Capitol Hill, which I have clips of that too, which I would have to pull back up. But multiple times, this man has openly said things that were racist. If you guys don't get things in check, they're going to put you back in chains, in reference to the NAACP. And if you blacks don't get situated, the Hispanics are going to outnumber you. That's racist. His wife even said something about calling Hispanic people tacos or tortillas or whatever. That's blatantly racism, but people gloss over that with rose-colored lenses and just walk away from what he says because they don't care, because it's not Donald Trump. That man could get on stage right now and say, I hate N's, hard ERs, and nobody would say a word. They would just, oh, he's senile, he's losing his mind. But multiple occasions, he said racist things. You're black, are you not, correct? I don't like the terminology black, but do you know how to use the internet?
Of course.
Joe Biden said we didn't know how to use the internet. Do you have a license?
Absolutely.
Joe Biden said we don't know how to get licensed. So that's blatant racism. He's saying we're too stupid. He says